What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sit Down. I'm DJ Sixsmith. Special guest in the house, Matt Walsh. How are you, sir?
Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you,
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, brand new movie, Under the Eiffel Tower. We were just talking about Paris before.
Yeah.
This seemed like it was just a blast to make for a number of different reasons. So, why was it the right picture for you at this point in your career?
They call it, in my business, a boondoggle. When you get to do something in an exotic location and they pay you to bring your family over there and film a romantic comedy, that's called a boondoggle.
That's the dream right
So
there.
it was a dream. I was sent the script by the director, Archie, and he's like, do you want to do this movie? And I'm like, can I bring my family? He's like, of course. So that was it.
No brainer.
And then I roped in my buddies, Reed Scott, Gary Cole, Michaela Watkins, David Wayne, to come over to France with us, and then Judith Godresh. I met on this project.
Oh, wow.
And it all came together serendipitously. And I personally loved digging into a genre that I'd never made. I've never made a romantic comedy. So every night we were sort of retinkering the lines and like opening up a little bit. And it was really fun. It was a fun challenge to make a romantic comedy.
Yeah, that must have been interesting because you've done so much in your career, but at this point you haven't done a romantic comedy. So what was most surprising about the whole experience?
What it is like, because at night, there's a woman, Danielle, who was our producer from The Orchard, who came with us, and she was like, all right, watch this movie tonight. So at night, during the day I would film and we would tinker with scenes, and at night I would be going like, you know, You've Got Mail, Harry Met Sally.
All the classics.
Like, all of them. Like, I was hitting them at night, you know, Shop Around the Corner, and you were just learning the mileposts that you have to hit, but also hide them in an interesting or unique way. So there's a moment in every romantic comedy where the character sees something in the other person that nobody else sees. So it's almost like validating their authentic self through someone else's eyes. So I see Judith, who plays Louise, and I see her at this market, and I'm like, you know, you smile a lot, but you're just as beautiful when you don't smile, which tells her like, hey, you don't have to put on a show for me.
Right. There's more depth and substance to what you're looking at.
Yes,
you know?
but that's also a trope of the romantic comedy.
Right.
So you have to do that in a way that doesn't feel like ham-fisted and like people
just shoving it down your throat.
Yeah. And then of course they go away and they come back together. There's all those things you have to execute as well.
And even your character, Stuart, compared to Reed Scott's character, it's just two polar opposites in the way you both are going after the same woman, which is pretty fascinating when you think about it.
It is. It is to put a little bit of a twist on it. I agree. Like Reed is sort of a dashing leading man type, and I'm sort of like I'm sort of a messy, kind of a mess of a guy.
But you're just you. You're raw. You're just throwing it out there.
I'm more of an animal. I'm more of a beast. Yeah.
You're proposing to 24-year-olds.
I know, but that's because it's intoxicating to be in Paris that we talked about, and it's like so many proposals happen at the Eiffel Tower anyways, and he wants to fix his life, and this girl just graduated grad school with an art degree, and he appreciates her passion, and in that moment he thinks like, I'll support her vision. I'll make her happy. I'll propose to her. And so I understand the pig-headedness of that.
I agree. I see it. So you also hit on something else with this whole midlife crisis thing. You know, you're tagging along on your friend's vacation, figuring out your life. So when people do watch this, that, you know, whether they're my age in their 20s, in their 40s, 50s, what do you want people that are a little bit older to take away from it?
Well, I think that love can win. I mean, I think that's the message of every romantic comedy is that love can win out, and that I hopefully, as someone who plays like the male side of the romantic comedy, it's like the unlikely hero. It's not like the dashing leading man winning the woman. It's like, no, it's an average dude who actually...
It's the everyman,
Yeah, it's the everyman.
Gives everybody hope out there.
Gives everyone hope. So I guess that's the message of a comedy like that. And I've talked of this film basically as a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. So Louise is the beast. She's stuck in her castle, shades drawn, very depressed, alone, doesn't trust the world. I stumble in as the beauty, open the windows, open her life up, and she sees happiness through me because I stumbled into her chateau.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Keep running with that.
Yeah.
And it's good.
I am.
First time
you're
you've been to Beauty.
In other outlets too.
Yeah. I like it. Just keep it going.
Yeah.
So I thought it was cool also because it's almost like it was perfect for your life and situation in terms of your character, her character, and just like this idea of people coming together at the right time in their lives. I think there's something to that. So what was it like unpacking that in a romantic comedy?
Well, it is like the midlife crisis. I embody the midlife crisis. I lose my job, and then I throw a proposal at my buddy's kid, which is such a nightmare thing to do, and almost ruin that relationship. So I embody that. But I also think Louise embodies like the atypical heroine in that, like, she's like, she hooks up with Liam, you know? That doesn't happen in the romantic comedies usually.
No,
she's like,
definitely not.
It's implied that she's around there and she's very empowered. So I like her portrayal in this film. She's not necessarily getting all her happiness from the man who comes into the picture, if you will. She's a very empowered character, which I think is a slight spin on the traditional format.
Definitely, and then you just have a sick Gary Cole rolling around there. A little bit of a different
Gary
role
Cole coming in for a little boondoggle time with his friends. Yeah, Gary came out. And you know what's funny is there is a theme of like a comet or shooting star in the film. We were out on the patio. Gary was there with his girlfriend, and I was there with my wife. We were just sitting enjoying Bordeaux, this beautiful 200-year-old vineyard. And literally we all saw this magnificent shooting star, and it was like storybook. Cool. It was ridiculously storybook.
Yeah,
that's just a moment I just remembered.
So what was the best part of France?
Best part of France? I like the traveling. We went to the Cap Ferret, which is on the west coast. We saw those cave paintings, Lascaux, that Werner Herzog made the documentary. They're Neanderthal paintings underground that they discovered like 60 years ago. And then Paris is just, as you know, is just a city where as long as you have a place to stay, you can fill your day.
Just walk around.
You just walk around, start with the cup of coffee and the croissant, and then go from there. And so the kids and I and Morgan, my wife, we just did it up, saw museums, and it was amazing.
That's awesome. So obviously romantic comedies weren't a thing for you until this. When you think about your career and thinking about when you first started, who were the people that you looked to for inspiration?
Well, mostly straight up comedians. Like I grew up on, I'm older, so like the Marx Brothers were on free television when I grew up. So that was stuff I would witness like, oh, that's how you do comedy. And that's what I instantly thought, like, oh, that's what funny is. And then I graduated into like Peter Sellers and Monty Python. And then as far as actors, I was a huge Stiller fan. Like his like comedies always worked for me. He's like such a great straight man. And then people like Will Ferrell and Bill Murray, you know, those would be like sort of the types that I sort of thought, wow, that's an amazing actor, or that's how you do comedy.
Yeah, definitely good people to look to.
Yeah.
So when you were starting out in Chicago,
what
were some of the early challenges that you faced, or just how did you kind of figure out your
First challenge
identity?
was rent. You know,
that's
making
always
rent.
The challenge.
Nobody's
for
paying you to do improvised shows in Chicago. So I had probably 100 jobs coming out of college, and then I chased psychology for like a year or two. I was going to be a psychologist, and then I thought the responsibility was too great for that job.
Do you ever think about what could have been?
What could have been is I could have been a therapist, not a psychiatrist, but a psychologist. And you could be walking into my little practice one day.
Just lying down and just laying it all out.
I don't think I would have lied down. I think I would have had like two chairs. I don't know, but I guess I'd have the couch if you want.
You kind of have to, right?
I feel like you're asking people to zone out. It's like that thing in yoga at the end when you get to relax. Everybody falls asleep. So it's not really conducive to conversation. But the challenges in Chicago, coming out of Chicago, are just, what's beautiful about Chicago is it's an affordable city, and there's great theater and great support. So there's a great comedy community, there's a great theater community, and you can cut your teeth and you can make mistakes and you can do shows every night and you can get venues.
And you need
That's the beauty. Well, you got to hit the boards. You got to get your bones. And so that's what like gave me my indie cred. And then I came to New York and with a sketch group called Upright Citizens Brigade, and we got lucky here. And I don't know. So the challenge is, I just say rent and like staying, getting good word of mouth is how we approached it. But nowadays, this was pre-YouTube. So word of mouth was like you coming live to a show down on the Lower East Side and then telling your friends.
Or something,
or you'd see a flyer. Yeah, we used to go to Tompkins Square Park. This is we had a voicemail that we paid for when we landed in New York in 1996. That like you paid $15 a month and some guy would write down your messages.
Oh my God.
That's how old I am. 1996, that was still going on.
That's amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
But you needed that.
But you did. And like I said, we were giving flyers out. We were hanging by bus stops. We were hanging by subway stops. Going to like Washington Square Park every Friday. Come see a show. And now you can sort of proliferate your media through social platforms, which is more accurate and better.
Yeah, obviously. You can hit more people, but it was totally grassroots for you guys.
It was, and that was the challenge. And getting that word of mouth, that was like the folkloric way to make a splash, whether it's Chicago or New York. I think getting audiences is another challenge. And that would be the big challenge, because in Chicago it was hard, because you were nobody, and then in New York we had a bit of a name, but you're still competing with so many things in this town.
There's so many things grabbing your attention.
Yeah.
So what are the biggest differences between the Chicago comedy scene and the New York comedy scene? Because, you know, you have somebody like you that was immersed in both. You have some people that do Second City and SNL. What would you say the differences are?
Well, now that Upright Citizens Brigade is in New York, I think it's changed. But when we came to New York, there was no place that was hospitable to sketch comedy. So we built a theater that people can do shows for free. We'll let you do tech for free. We'll advertise the show for you. But when we came to New York, that didn't exist. So we had trunks of props. We would leave on the subway, and we would come home with them. You couldn't leave them at the theater. It was just like you were a vagabond, like you were like a busker, setting up your wares, do your show, and then leave. And then you would have to pay for your tech guy, et cetera, et cetera. So Chicago was a smaller market, and we had more connections. Coming to New York was just instantly more challenging. But I will say, patting myself on the back, what UCB has set up in this town is like, if you're a young kid and you want to study comedy, you could take classes, and then there's stage time where you can actually, now I can get on a house team, and these agents know about UCB, and they come through and they watch shows, and sometimes you catch a break that way. So
speaking of UCB, I mean, you guys built this from the ground up. When did you realize it was not only going to be a big thing, but something that could impact generations of people going forward?
It happened pretty quick, because like I said, when we came to New York, there was no long-form improv happening. There was what's called Chicago style, where you take one suggestion and you do like 45 minutes of comedy off of that suggestion, or a monologue. That wasn't happening, so we were able to like wow people and get them interested in what we had learned in Chicago. So that was a big break for us. And I'm just happy that UCB exists, because when I was a kid who didn't know what he was doing, I stumbled into an improv class. And after like 2 levels or whatever, I was 8 weeks in, I realized like, oh, this is what I want to do. Much like a crack addict when they take a hit of crack and you're stuck.
And you're hooked. And
that's hooked. I took that improv hit, and I like that we have created a place that if people have that gene that says, oh, I want to do improv or I want to do sketch, we've created a place where they can succeed and grow and learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were able to do all those things, and you know, you start with improv and then you make the pivot into TV and movies. So how did that all happen?
Well, improv and sketch, for me, like improv and sketch were always going on at the same time. And I did stand-up for like a year or 2 in Chicago. It wasn't my thing. I made a living. It was like early 90s, and anybody with 15 minutes could make a living. It was a boom.
How much were you getting for a show?
That's a great question. You would probably get like $300 if you were like a headliner.
And what was rent
drive
at that
up to
point?
Milwaukee. Rent was probably like $200. Maybe rent was like $300 split between
a couple people.
Yeah, it was probably not. It was probably $1,000 for my apartment in Chicago, and there's 3 guys living there.
Gotcha.
So it's $300
that's rent right there.
Yeah, you could knock your rent off in 1 month. So that was beautiful. I forgot what the question was.
Just thinking about your time in terms of going from improv to acting in TV shows and movies.
So it's the same fundamentals. What improv does is it teaches you basic acting, how to play things real, top of your intelligence. So you're unconsciously learning acting as well when you're doing improv. And then sketch, concurrently, we were doing sketch shows, you know, once a week with UCB in Chicago. So I think you learn your acting skills as you're doing both of those things, and then it's just a natural evolution. Comedy has fewer, I don't know, parameters. Like if you're funny, they'll plug you into like something that's a romantic comedy or straight up sketch movie or whatever. So I think it was just an evolution, just doing it every night.
I gotcha. So you mentioned Will Ferrell as one of your guys growing up. You do old school.
Well, growing up, I'm worth similar age. I'm probably older than him.
But you're looking to him in terms of just his comedic style, you'd say?
Well, I guess like on SNL is where I discovered him, like most people. I think he came out of L.A. He's just like a very, with a movie like Elf, he's so big and over the top and sweet that not everybody can do that.
Right.
And so whatever that quality is that he has, he's very lovable and likable, as well as super funny, and he goes for it. He has all those things working.
Yeah, he can do Elf and he can do old school.
Yeah, and he's done like Stranger Than Fiction. He's done some dramas that are very compelling and very interesting.
Yeah, he can run the gamut.
Yeah, and I just took my boys to see Holmes and Watson, which we saw it at the $3 cinema in L.A.
Nice.
Perfect. Really funny bits in there.
Yeah. What did your kids think of it?
They liked it.
Nice.
Yeah, I brought my boy Emmett. He really liked it. And there was really good bits in there. Him and John C. Reilly together.
They're quite
very
a team.
stepbrothers, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what's it like for you showing your kids comedy from the 90s compared to, or comedy from the 2000s and stuff today? How are you immersing them in stuff from the past and also showing them stuff today?
My wife and I, we do like a Friday night movie night, and so we try to force them to watch things that we think are good or funny or like culturally relevant films. So they're forced to watch some stuff they don't want, but they do get to pick the Friday night movie occasionally, so it's a rotation. It's a give and take. So
what are a couple that you guys have checked out?
Name a movie that you think I maybe have let them see. Like Goonies, they've seen Goonies. Like the kids' movies, Space Camp.
Yep.
These were done early. Stand By Me, they haven't seen yet, I don't think, but that's a little adult because of the dead body. But they're...
And how old are they?
11, 9, and 7.
Okay, so they're starting to creep closer. Yeah.
The 11-year-old can handle it, for sure.
But there's still certain things you can't show yet.
Certain things, like I did a tornado movie, and I showed it to them, and I shouldn't have because I die in the movie, and it was upsetting to them. So I would keep pausing it, and I would remind them, like, that's not me, that's me playing someone.
Yeah, it should be an interesting night at the house. Yeah. Dad dies in this movie, but Dad's right here.
Well, they got upset because you get attached to the character, and you think of the mortality of your father, but I had to, like, go really slow and pause it and talk to them and then let it play for a minute and let them know, okay.
I got you.
So,
do your kids watch Veep?
No. It's filthy. No.
It's probably a couple years down the road.
I think the 11-year-old could watch it, like this season, he could probably watch it, yeah.
But I think in a couple years, once your kids do get into it, it'll probably be pretty interesting because you'll be a few more years removed from it, and it should be interesting to see how they, just see their dad in that,
Yeah, I guess so, sure. I mean, I don't have any restrictions on it right now, but I don't think they'll be, I think the oldest could probably watch it. Because I keep hearing a lot of my friends, like, their kids who are 11 have started watching Veep.
Yeah, I think
it's funny and filthy, and it's good.
And it's an awesome show.
It is a good show. It is a great show. Yeah.
So how has the show grown over the past couple of years? And just to think where you guys were in the start to where you are now, how do you reflect on that?
I guess the way Veep has grown is that in the first season it was Selena and her entourage swimming through the hallways of DC, and we were always in her wake. And then as each season has gone on, we've sort of spun off into separate satellites, and we have our own storylines, which of course fold into her primary storyline. But I like that the world of Veep keeps getting bigger and bigger. Much like The Simpsons, we have these characters who can come in and are instantly recognizable and instantly funny the minute they come through. So
yeah, I love that. You think about a show like The Office, where each character had such a strong hold on captivating an audience. Same with you guys, is that each one of you guys has your own storyline, and people can connect with that in a unique way.
Yeah. No, they do a great job of it. The writing is incredible, and I think this season I'm excited to see how it reflects some of the chaos that the recent Trump era has put into the political sphere.
Yeah, should be interesting.
I think we finally have our footing on what to comment on, or the writers do.
Yeah. I gotcha. Yeah, and doing it in such a way that doesn't alienate one side. And
exactly, because it is a fictional, you don't know if she's Republican or Democrat.
Right.
It is a fictional, like DC, but it speaks to the greater truths, hopefully, of politics.
Right, and with everything going on today, you have to acknowledge what's happening. You can't just completely ignore it, and put your head in the sand.
Correct. Correct. I think I was very pleased with when it started appearing in the stories for this season. I was very excited.
Yeah,
because it's not an easy challenge.
No, definitely
to
not.
Make some dark stuff that's coming out of DC funny.
We need to laugh, though.
Yes.
Yes. We definitely need shows like that.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
So when you think about your career, you've done all these different things. How do you remain consistent? Because that seems to be such a challenge. Some people have a couple big movies, that's it. You never hear from them again. But you've had this sustained career. How have you been able to do it?
I think hustle. I think you truly just produce things you like. Like I produced this film under the Eiffel Tower. So I think like writing and producing things, having a hand in creating the comedy. Even a show like Veep, they want our input. They want us to suggest ideas for the season, or even like things that we might say in the moment. So basically, being allowed to collaborate and then on some projects produce and write has sustained, my career. I think that's really advice I would give to anybody, is like, make sure you got a couple things that you're helping produce and bring along. Don't just like wait for the call for the audition.
Because that call may never come.
Which I think people get. I think young actors definitely get that. Because I think more and more, I think as it goes, we all have to have like 2 or 3 jobs going.
Yeah.
To keep,
you can't just do one
the
thing.
Lights on. Yeah. Because seasons are shorter, for one. They're 8 seasons now. And there's no like, oh, you can do one sitcom and be good for the year.
Right.
And those are harder to get.
Definitely. And movies are different too. I mean,
yes.
You guys are rolling this one out in theaters, but then it's also digital. And
yes.
You know, it's great. It's an hour and a half. Like, you bang it out in 90 minutes. Production schedule is much more compact. So you just kind of have to adjust to everything going on.
Yeah. No, it is. You're right. And that's the good news is, like, for indies, like, we're going to get great exposure on this romantic comedy we made. I love that there is a market for that. We're going to be in 10 cities, which is huge, all the cool, like, cultural centers of America. And then February 12th, it'll be on demand, which is, like, perfect for Valentine's Day. You know, it's a romantic comedy.
Smart marketing right there.
Yeah, it is. The Orchard is smart.
Awesome. Well, Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Where can people check it out?
10 cities, February 12th. No, February 8th, Eiffel Tower, under the Eiffel Tower,
in
10
theaters.
cities. And then February 12th, on demand everywhere, every video platform you can imagine.
That's Matt Walsh. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time here on The Sit Down.